Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I was out of town and I haven't seen any announcements regarding masks in open houses or any changes there. Heather, are you aware of anything?
I thought we were supposed to wear masks inside and any
Yeah, that's what they said.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, certainly
Nothing.
with yeah, no, you're not aware of anything. Okay, so, but you know, the policy has been that people should be wearing masks inside the homes. So we should just keep that practice. Napa just enacted masks inside yesterday. Okay, thanks, Curtis. Yeah, so yeah, we can continue to do the open houses and the brokers opens, but just everyone needs to be masked indoors.
Which makes sense.
Okay. Anybody got a transaction issue they want
I
to
do.
discuss? Okay, Patty, what's up?
Yeah, no, I just want to know if this is ethical or not. I'm representing a seller. Buyer's agent texted me and wanted to let the buyers go in and start working on the house prior to the close of escrow. And I said, well, I'll check with my seller. You know, First American was trying really hard to close the escrow yesterday. Spoke with the seller and he said, no, he wasn't comfortable with that. I texted the agent back and got a really snarky reply from the agent, which I ignored. Then the agent texted my seller saying that everything was fine and that the seller should contact Patty Markin and tell her it was fine for the buyers to have access to the house, which of course my seller couldn't believe. And he forwarded the text to me. I don't think that's ethical. Do you?
Well, certainly not. It's not ethical to be in contact with another agent's client.
Right.
You know, and particularly with a listing, when you have a signed listing, a buyer's agent or any other agent should not be contacting your client directly without your involvement. So yeah, that would be a violation of the code.
Well, that's what I thought. I got so angry yesterday, I may file a complaint.
Yeah.
Because this person had no compunction to do that. She just went ahead and figured she'd try and get her way that way.
Where's the property?
It's in Sonoma. It's over on Fano Lane.
And is the agent from this area? Someone we know?
Yeah, Sotheby's agent.
Okay, I won't ask you names, but you can share it with me later if you want.
I will. I'll send you an email because I'm really considering filing a complaint.
Yeah, sure. We'll back you up.
Thank you.
Okay. Along those lines and the code of ethics and what to do in certain circumstances, this is a little different, but got a question on it yesterday. Our agent has a listing and got an offer, and I don't believe, I didn't really ask him, but I don't believe there's a deadline for submitting offers or, you know, like they're going to look at offers on Tuesday at 5 o'clock or anything like that. I think they were just looking at them as they came in. But it was a brand new listing. The offer came in like in the second day of the listing being active. And so my agent looked at it and had not yet had a chance to share it with the seller. But then he got a call from a client and said, I'd like to make an offer on the property too. Or he didn't know there was already an offer, but he said, I'd like to make an offer. So our agent was in a quandary of having seen the first agent's offer and then writing one of his own, which is a no-no if you're going to be writing on a listing on your own, or if you're going to be writing an offer on your own listing and there are other offers, you can't see them. You know, if you're the only one writing an offer and the seller agrees to it, we want to know about any single agent dual agencies. But it particularly is a no-no to be writing an offer when you've already seen competing offers. So he asked him, do I need to call that agent and let them know I'm going to be writing an offer now? And the answer is yes. So call that agent, say, I didn't realize it, but one of my clients is going to write an offer. You're free to amend your offer if you'd like, but send it to my broker. And then he's expecting 2 or 3 other offers, and he's told them all to send their offers to me, in which case we'll then I'll interface with the seller on the creating a counter offer if that's what they want to do. But whenever you're in single agent, dual agency, it's the most dangerous kind of path to tread on in our business. So always involve Randy or me in that situation, and we'll figure out how to stay as safe as we can. Any questions on that? Okay. So this seems to come up every week now. It's the distinction between inspections and investigations. So the question here was our agents representing a buyer on a mobile home purchase that requires the park's approval. Is getting the park approval part of the buyer investigations. So yes, sorry, I didn't pull up my ZipForms yet. Let me just drop out of here for a second. And
Yeah, because there's a clause in that contract saying they've got X amount of days to get the park approval.
oh, in the mobile home contract itself?
Well, I think in the addendum to the mobile home, because we use the
Right.
regular CAR contract, and then there's another form that goes with it, but it's addressed somewhere.
Okay, that's good to know, because I'm not that familiar with the mobile home contract or addendum, though. It was interesting when I was helping one of our agents who had multiple offers on, including one of her own, on her own listing. She was the only one who attached that mobile home addendum.
Oh,
And
my.
yeah, no, it contains a lot of good information in it. So
Geez Louise.
yeah, so if you're using that, if you're writing on a mobile home or receiving an offer on a mobile home, be sure to ask for that mobile home addendum. And let me look here. And this crazy thing is still not, I don't know if it's my computer or the search thing. Home dealer listing addendum, purchase agreement. Is it the dealer addendum, Patty? Is that what it is? Or advisory?
I don't know the name. Just put mobile homes in there.
Yeah,
in your search bar.
I got 4 here, but let's see.
It's addendum to purchase agreement, I believe, or mobile home addendum.
Isn't it manufactured and mobile home? So manufactured might come up first.
Yeah, I think you're right, Heather.
Manufactured, right. Home listing addendum, home purchase agreement, manufactured home transfer.
Well, wouldn't it be the home purchase agreement? Because there is no specific home purchase agreement per se for a mobile home.
That's right. Right, you're right. Let's preview this form. And I know I'm not sharing my screen just yet, but I will in a second.
And the price that those things are starting to go for, I think more agents may be more inclined to sell them. Some of them are in the 3s now, which is amazing.
Right. All right, I'm going to share screen here. Okay, Can you see the disclosure regarding, well, that's the agency, yeah.
Yeah,
Fair housing discrimination, wire fraud, manufactured home agreement and joint escrow instructions. I don't know if that's it or not. There was an addendum. And I don't need to drag this out, but that is the manufactured home purchase agreement.
huh, I didn't even, well. It, somewhere, one of those forms, it talks about park approval.
Yeah. Well, in any case, it is, comes into that distinction between inspections and investigations, and it would be an investigation that the
Mhm.
buyer could retain his rights to do, his or her rights to do that investigation, even though they might have completed their inspections. So that's the answer.
Right,
on
to
that one.
read the lease would be a, yeah.
Right. Right. Sorry. Okay, so now we had a question on our agent. Yeah, our agent Mariah is on the line, so I hope you don't mind me using this example, Mariah. So the purchase agreement stated there was a loan and it was a certain amount. And then because it was a contingent sale and the buyer didn't know what they were going to net from the home they were selling, the loan, actually was, I think, reduced in that case. They were going to get a lower loan. So the question was really, if you change the loan amount during the course of the transaction, does the do you need an amendment to the contract to indicate that the loan amount has changed? And basically, no. The loan amount, the buyer has the right to decrease or increase the loan amount as long as everything stays within the timeframes that they were looking at. Another agent had a cash offer with other terms in the other terms section. It was written, the buyer has the right to explore getting a hard money loan with no cost or delay to the seller. And the agent was asking, well, does that become a contingency of any sort? Because it was a cash offer and they checked the cash offer box and there was no loan contingency, but now they have this thing, a right to get a hard money loan if they want. And does that create a contingency? And my opinion was no, it didn't create a contingency. So the loan amounts can change without having to create an amendment. And remember, we talk about this often. We're doing amendments after a contract is ratified. We do addendums when we're attaching some terms to the original offer. So there's that amendment form that should be used. Let's see, Pip is on here. I think I saw her earlier. Maybe she dropped off. But oh no, there you are. Hi, Pippa. She
Hi,
has
Gary.
a new listing that was coming soon. And I think the reason I asked about this was it's in coming soon status, and she was getting an offer. Did it come in, Pippa?
It came in and we just accepted. So I need to change that because they went back and forth for a while. So we've accepted and we will.
Don't use the word we've accepted. You say my client has accepted.
My client, my lovely client has accepted.
Right.
And so I know I just sent out another e-blast and now we have that, but we are going, we'll still go live on Tuesday and she will be open to any backup offers.
Okay.
But
So
I'm confused. If you've got an offer on a coming soon listing and you accept it, shouldn't the offer go into MLS immediately as contingent, continue to show?
Yes, that's correct. When you.
Yes, it should.
Yeah.
So we've just accepted the offer. It came on as a coming soon last week. And so she's just accepted. So I need to change that this morning.
Great.
Is that your question, Patty?
Well, no, it just, yeah, that's what needs to be done for MLS.
I'm on the move today. That's why I'm not on camera. I'm in 20 places, so I'm getting there.
Yay,
I'm
Pippa,
getting there.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, you know, when Pippa wrote me that we may have an offer coming in, and while it's incoming soon status, I said, well, just make sure the seller fully understands that the property hasn't gone active on the MLS. Get them, you know, to acknowledge in an email or something that they understand that exposing it to the MLS would give it the greatest market exposure, and they're choosing not to if they accept an offer prior to it being active. So
yes, and I did discuss all of that with her.
great, good.
Yeah.
Joe was asking, what's the property, Pippa?
The property is it's 2 homes on 1 lot in Boys Hot Springs. Both used to be Airbnbs, really nice condition. Main house is a 3.2 and the ADU is 525 square feet, fully remodeled in 2017. So it's listed at $975. And tenants would love to stay if possible, both really nice tenants.
Great. What was the street address?
Street address is it's 18046 and 18048 Poplar.
Great. Okay. Here you go, Joe. Kendra, thank you. She said that listing agreement has the addendum for the purchase to the mobile home. So maybe that's why I only saw it in the listing agent's packet, because they're the only one who had it. But I guess it should be provided to everyone who makes an offer on it. So is that the procedure, Kendra? Kendra's not picking up. So, but it is as part of the listing agreement. Let's see what else we got. So we got a prelim, and Katie, who's our primary our TC leader, asked, is it sufficient for a buyer to acknowledge the prelim that they put on page 1 of the prelim? The buyer hereby acknowledges receipt of X number of pages, I don't know, 16, 25, whatever it was, including exceptions, and then signature line and date. And yeah, that's acceptable for our purposes. I like the fact that they added including exceptions, because that then the buyer's acknowledging that they are aware of any exceptions and have approved them.
So does that mean they removed the contingency?
For the title report, yeah.
Okay.
Parmita asked about the BEO, and this is what you would use, Patty, if your seller were willing to let the buyer into the property early. Let's go look at the BEO. Let's see. I'll get rid of this one. There it is. This is the buyer early occupancy agreement. I think I added it. Okay, full screen here. So we don't like the buyer to occupy early, usually. As a buyer, even if we're their agent, we don't like them to occupy early because too many bad things can happen when a buyer's in a house and they haven't closed on it.
Yeah.
So this form was developed a couple of years ago, 2016. You know, and it's, you know, if it has to happen, and in our case, we were, what happened was the seller thought the property was in the trust. Turned out the owner never put it in the trust. So it had, the owner died and had to go through probate now, and that's going to take weeks. So, and everyone was agreeable that the buyer could move in. So they used this form, or they might have used a lease in that case, but in any case, this form covers the term, the consideration, who's going to pay the utilities, who's got insurance, and other terms that might be here. And then it's this big black box here, you know, brokers. Brokers do not recommend early occupancy. Broker advise buyer and seller to consult legal counsel to determine whether entering in such an addendum temporarily or permanently changes the nature of their status as buyer and seller, and the legal consequences and implications of an early occupancy. If buyer and seller agree to early occupancy, they are going against the advice of the broker and at their own risk. So we do our best to cover our bases there. So that's that form. We got a question. So property ID is putting a form, the fire disclosure form, is part of their NHD reports now. So we asked Vicky, our attorney, about it, and she says the property ID form meets the statutory requirements, and it puts everyone on notice that it is the NHD provider that is the one making determination as to whether the property is in the relevant zones. That's a good thing for the seller. If that form is included with the NHDS, the hazard disclosure report, the CAR version of the form is not needed. So if we have it through NHD or property ID in this case, we don't need to double up with the CAR version. The example sent shows that the property is not in the relevant zones because the box is checked. The seller has no further obligation to answer any of the other questions on the form, but the seller still needs to sign the form, and the buyer needs to acknowledge receipt by signing it as well. So we're still stumbling our way through using that new form. But if the NHD companies start providing it, that's good for us and good for our sellers. Mary asked a question, Mary's here, about the additional deposit addendum when liquidated damages are increased as a secondary deposit is made. And that form always has to be included when the second deposit is going up, if it's subject to the liquidated damages. So let's say you have 3% as your total down payment, that's the liquidated damages amount. You've agreed to liquidated damages, you put down 1% at the beginning, but you put down another 2% after removing conditions. You put in that 2%, the buyer puts in that 2%, and we need to get everybody to sign that additional deposit is subject to liquidated damages, otherwise it's not. So your TC should know that and make sure we get that form, but it's always needed, where there's a secondary deposit subject to liquidated damages. And then there were 2 weekly practice tips. I think I'm behind on sending these out. One was about appraisers should not be influenced. And this is it's an illegal activity under Civil Code Section 1090.5. No person with an interest in a real estate transaction involving an appraisal shall improperly influence or attempt to improperly influence through coercion, extortion, or bribery the development, reporting, result, or review of the real estate appraisal sought in connection with a mortgage loan. Prohibited acts include, but are not limited to, withholding or threatening to withhold timely payment for the appraiser, withholding or threatening to withhold future business from the appraiser, especially or implied promising future business promotions or increased compensation for an appraiser. Condition the request for an appraisal service or payment on a certain opinion of value. So one can ask the appraiser about his comps and things like that, but you certainly can't do anything that's unduly influences the appraiser. I think we would still be allowed, if the appraiser requests, to provide them with what we think are good comps. But no champagne. You can't give them champagne. Curtis, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I had a buyer's agent who had to give the appraiser an extra $200 to get her out faster because it was taking so long. And the appraisal company suggested extra money to get it to happen faster. So she did it.
I'm not sure that, it says to condition the request for appraisal service or the payment of an appraisal fee on a certain opinion. No, I'm not sure that's illegal. If it were illegal, I doubt they would be doing it. So
yeah, no, it was surprising. She wanted that escrow to close on time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot, and they're calling it a rush fee.
Yeah.
Okay, throw in an extra $500 or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because it's kind of tiptoeing around the border of what I'm reading there. So maybe it will be challenged at some point. And then this last week, the practice tip was on buyers who do not want title insurance. Title insurance is the way we really transfer properties in California. There's other states have other means and don't use necessarily title insurance all the time. But I won't go into the tip there, but if you have a buyer, either if you're representing either a buyer or seller, and you get a buyer who says, "Oh, I don't want title insurance. I'm not going to pay for that." Let us know, because it's a red flag, and it's a red flag for us as agents and brokers if they're going to jump outside that box. And there's a 2-page form that would want that buyer to sign if that's what they choose to do. So, and I think that's all I have this morning, unless anybody's got a question. I'll let Heather carry on.
I actually have 2 quick questions, Gary.
Sure.
A couple times it's come up, when you sign, you have your seller sign your listing agreement. That includes the wire fraud, and it includes the fair housing now. And so your sellers sign all that. And then when they get offers, those documents come over again with the buyer's signature. And I've always just let it be those documents in counterpart.
Yeah.
That's fine, right? I've had a couple of agents ask me if no, they need to sign the one with the buyers, but then why add more they've already reviewed it all. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I've always said that the agreements in counterpart are fine.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't the purchase agreement say that as well, that things can be signed in counterparts?
There may be a clause in there around that. It doesn't come up very often.
Yeah, because we do that all the time.
Right.
Yeah. I just, I figure when sellers are signing offers, there's already so much, and with all the online, that we're signing everything online, I'd rather not have more than need to be there. And then my other question is, a few times I've had, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe it just is me, but where my buyers are fine with the liquidated damages and the other clause, but because those are, they're, what do you call it? They're not, they don't have to sign it, right? They
It's
have
an
a
option.
choice.
Yeah.
They're missing it. So I guess my question is, if I discuss those with them first or have them review it first and they tell me they want to sign them, can I make them obligatory or whatever you call it? Or any suggestions anybody has, I guess, on how to handle that so they don't just miss it on accident?
So they're missing in the DocuSign?
Yeah, because it's not a required signature
but
field, and so.
Did you, or are you still using that one where it auto populates? So,
Mhm.
okay, because so that's the tricky part about that auto populating one, because it populates it as an option.
Okay.
If you had dragged the initials there yourself,
Mhm.
instead of it auto-filling, then they would have to stop there in their DocuSign.
Okay, so we can do it so that it's not an option, that they.
Yeah, I think
Okay, okay.
You can go back and just drag the signature, the initial
Yeah.
box over there.
I know how to do that. I just didn't know if that was okay for us
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
is an option for them, right? Okay, good. That'll make it easier.
Yeah, and Kendra says that happened to her too, and she had to counter that out, or the other agent had to counter it so that everyone agreed to liquidated damages. And Kendra also says the manufactured home purchase agreement, paragraph 12 and 16B has park approval as conditions. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, Mary, you have your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I had issues with that a number of times. And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought with our brokerage that we are not only we should pick liquidated damages, but also the part where, oh God, what is it called? When you negotiate litigation, what is
Arbitration.
arbitration? So
Arbitration.
when I don't click arbitration because we want our buyers to be able to hire a lawyer if we ever get to that point, I've had agents on the other side really have problems with that. And maybe I'm doing it wrong or listened incorrectly at the legal meetings, but when I don't have that arbitration, when I keep that arbitration paragraph free for them to get legal counsel, agents on the other side are not really happy with it.
Yeah, it can be a regional thing.
Okay.
But in our area that I'm aware of, most contracts do not have arbitration as part of the agreement from the outset. And that's what Vicky has always told us, that if they have the option to choose our arbitration, and when I explain it, that our attorneys suggest that you not sign it at this point. If some kind of dispute comes up, you're going to go to mediation anyway, because that's mandatory, unless it's a small amount. If it's over $10,000, you can't go to small claims court. Then they're going to have to go to mediation over an issue. And then you can decide to request arbitration. Then instead of a court hearing, you can decide that down the road.
I
But
thought you
if
had
they
to have
really want,
a meeting of the minds on that, though.
oh, you do.
To have a
You can't
contract.
Yeah, you can't have one party saying they want arbitration and the other party not. They have to be in sync. They either both agree to have arbitration or they both agree not to have it.
Yeah, but what
So-
if the agent comes back and it says my client wants arbitration, meaning the seller?
Yeah,
Then that's a
Then-
counter offer.
yes, it is.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Yep. And then we'll come back as a counter offer. The parties agree to arbitration, and then your buyer has a decision to make. Do I want to agree to that or not?
Okay, I've been always doing it the other way. Having them either say yes or no before I present an offer.
The seller or your
The
buyer?
buyer.
Yeah. If your buyer, but as Mary says, our brokerage position is that we would counsel a buyer not to agree to arbitration in their offer when they make an offer, unless they feel strongly about it and want to consult with an attorney. Now, in the statewide advisory, there's a great deal of explanation about arbitration, the pros and the cons, and I think there's a separate little document that you can give them about. You can always send them the CAR FAQ on arbitration, and then they can, be fully advised other than just what we tell them.
Yeah, because I've never left that blank. Okay, learned something new.
Okay.
Hmm.
And Mariah, you have your hand up.
Hi, Gary. I had a question on the liquidated damages.
Sure.
What if my clients submit their full 3% deposit upfront when they open escrow and not increase it later?
Right.
Is that still, since they're not signing that increased deposit liquidated damages form?
No, they wouldn't need it in that case.
But would that deposit still be held liable for liquidated damages?
Yeah, the way the liquidated damages clause reads is that the money in escrow will be the liquidated damages, except it can't exceed 3% of the purchase price. So if they put in 3%, then that 3% is going to be liquidated damages if they default on the contract.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, if there's nothing else, let me just check the chat real quick. Okay, why is no attorney-client will ever sign? Yeah, you're right. Curtis points out that he's had attorney clients and none of them will agree to arbitration. So, why don't attorneys agree to arbitration?
Yeah.
And Joe asked about liquidated damages again a little more. So let me just pull up our RPA and take a quick look at that. So we're down. Okay, we're down under 21. Remedies for breach, buyer's breach of contract. Any clause added by the parties specifying a remedy such as release or forfeiture of deposit or making a deposit non-refundable for failure of buyer to complete the purchase is a violation of this agreement shall be deemed invalid unless the clause independently satisfies the statutory liquidated damages requirements set forth in the civil code. So, we get that question every once in a while. The buyer wants to pass through money to the seller to get them to do something, or the seller wants the buyer to pass through money because they need to pay the doctor's bills. Can't do that in residential 1 to 4 contracts usually. Commercial land deals, non-residential 1 to 4, you can build in clauses that pass through money. But if the idea of passing through money and through escrow to the seller comes up in your negotiations, get us involved, because we need to, it has to be very carefully crafted by attorneys to be legal. 21B says liquidated. If buyer fails to complete the purchase because of buyer's default, and the default is, defined in the agreement, seller should retain as liquidated the damages the deposit actually paid. So if they paid in, let's say the target is it's a $1 million deal and it's going to be 3%, so it's $30,000, and they put in 10 and then default, then the only liquidated damages that the deposit actually paid would be $10,000. If during the course of the transaction they put in the additional 20, they get to 30, then that is, and they execute that increase in deposit form, then that becomes subject to liquidated damages also. So if the properties are dwelling with no more than 4 units, single family 1 to 4, of which the buyer intends to occupy, then the amount retained shall be no more than 3% of the purchase price. Any excess shall be returned to the buyer, except as provided in paragraph 14H. Release of funds will require mutual signed release instructions. And here in big capital letters, at the time of any increased deposit, buyer and seller shall sign a separate liquidated damages provision incorporating the increased deposit as liquidated damages. That's the RID form. So, so it's right there in black and white that if you're increasing your deposit and it's covered by the liquidated damages, you have to do that form. Okay. Is that good, Joe? Okay.
Harry, if the liquidated damages is not agreed to and the buyer defaults, what is the seller's recourse to take them to court, or?
Yeah, the seller's recourse is what it's called actual damages.
Actual, okay.
So if, you know, okay, I couldn't sell my home and it cost me 3 months of mortgage payments, they could file a claim for 3 months of mortgage payments or something like that.
Ah.
And usually actual damages are really hard to prove.
Mhm.
So it's advisable to do liquidated damages because actual damages are so hard to prove, basically, and it limits the exposure for the buyer. Curtis is asking if wouldn't there be no contract if you didn't agree to liquidated damages? And no, I mean, both parties can agree not to agree to liquidated damages, and you would still have a meeting of the minds and a contract. But you can't have one party initial that clause and the other party not. That then you don't have a binding contract in that case. Okay, Heather, you got one or two things for us today?
I do. Let me pull up my chat.
While you pull that up, I do have one last question regarding the liquidated damages part. So when you have one party sign it and the other party doesn't sign it, we have to come to terms with that in some way. And is that usually an addendum, or how is that?
It would probably come in the form of a counteroffer from one
A
party.
counteroffer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, real quick, last week I went over creating, if you were here, I went over Cloud CMA and then also creating net sheets, and due to technical difficulties, I was not able to show the actual sample of a net sheet. So I just wanted to pull that up today. So if you go into Barris and you create a net sheet through Barris, this is what it looks like. If you want to know how to do that, review and you weren't there last week, review that video. It's the last about 10 or 15 minutes of the video from last week. I will make sure that it's up on the YouTube. I'm not sure if it's there or not yet. But I really like this net sheet. I think it's just really clear and kind of simple for sellers. It's really, I don't know, it's just kind of a clean net sheet as opposed to the one. You can also do it through the CAR form. They have a really nice one as well that has a lot more details, but I just think this one really looks nice, and you can put it right in your CMA. You can include it, and
Is that from Cloud CMA,
sure.
Heather?
This is from Barris.
Oh, it is from
This is
Barris.
the
That's a nice
one-
looking form.
Yeah, I really like it. If you go into Barris and you go to create a CMA and then you just go down to a symbol package, you can access, you don't have to do the full CMA. You can just access
Okay.
this net sheet, and it's, it's just a really nice, easy net sheet. I really like how it works.
Heather, where do
So
you get, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Where do you get the title and like the closing cost from on these? Because that, I like using this too. But I know that there's an area that talks about closing costs, and I don't know really where you get that.
So on the net sheet through Barris, it prorates like the property taxes, and what else? It prorates that, and one other item. You just have to give it a
Interest
proposed.
on the mortgage.
Yes, it prorates that as well. So if you know what their mortgage balance is and approximately what their interest, it does prorate all that for you. And then on the seller sheet, I don't include the escrow costs because most often the buyer is assuming those. So I mainly just put in, if I can find out what their mortgage balance, or at least have an idea, and then the rest of it calculates it for you. You know, you can decide if you want to put in the pest and home inspection, the hazard disclosure, those kind of things. So if you want to take a look, you know, dive into it a little bit, pop over to that other video, because I went into actually showing the you know, the process of creating it. But this is what it looks like. I think it's a really nice, clean form. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was in Barris. Let's see if I can get into here. Not gonna let me do it. All right, I'm gonna have to stop share and pull it back up. Just give me a second here. Okay, here I am over in Barris. Let me show you guys, share that screen. You know, Gary does such a great job with the broker, all that info, the broker trends, the broker blog, that's what it's called. And Marisa also sends out a really nice monthly market report. But sometimes I find it's like, well, that one's a little old, or, you know, there is a really great source here in Barris that you can do some nice graphs. So I wanted to just show you guys real quick. Up on the top, I'm logged into Barris. I'm on the main, you know, search page. I was obviously planning some showings this afternoon. Right up here, though, if you click on trends, click on that and it will pop up a pretty great, easy, you know, quick way that you can create some graphs to show your clients what's going on. It defaults here to all of Barris, which is a little bit much. So, you know, what I usually do is I pop down. It's not, I don't know why it's in this order. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's not alphabetical, but you have to go down and find Sonoma County. You can also do a specific city if you want. You know, you can do Bodega Bay, what have you. And then you just do show chart, and it's going to give you 4 different really quick, easy charts. It does, the different charts are, it's going to take here a minute processing, but sale versus sold. So Bodega Bay's kind of got a funny, very different from overall Sonoma County, right? But it gives you how many homes were for sale versus.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Heather, we're on a screen that shows just 4, you know, it's got houses at Santa Rosa. So are you on another screen?
Let me try stop sharing and then see.
Yeah.
Here, let me pull up this one I was working on earlier. Okay, can you see? Let's see. Okay, can you see this now? It says Sonoma County
There you
on
go.
the top. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is just all of Sonoma County. Oh, actually, it still has on. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it like this so you guys can get an idea. So you can look at how many homes have sold versus how many were for sale. Up along this top bar here, you can do a chart of average price per square foot. I don't know how long it's going to take, but some different, you know, right now we're at $507 per square foot. I was shocked at that. Also, you can do days on market. And the last one is average price for sale versus sold. So just some nice, easy market stats. If you're gonna, you know, go on a appointment, talking to your buyers, trying, you know, whatever you're doing, and you need some quick, easy market statistics, that's in a graph form. They print up pretty nice. So just wanted to share that with you guys.
Where did you go to get that, Heather?
Yeah, that is right on the main page. Let's see, can you guys see the Barris search screen now?
No.
No.
All right. I always have to stop share and reshare. I don't know why. It doesn't just pop over like I do. Okay, how about now? You see the Barris with the map?
Not, yeah, now we do.
Okay, so just on the very top of that, so, you know, this is the regular, I could go over to the homepage, but it might not work. But on the very top next to searches is listings, and then you have trends. So trends, is that going to give you that pop-up screen to all those graphs?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's right there. It's amazing all the things that we have access to. We don't even
No,
know
they're
or
there.
use, right?
Yeah.
And I use those trends actually to develop my blog. I have a
Mhm.
routine.
Oh,
plugging each one.
nice.
Yeah.
And you also use that other,
I don't use broker metrics for that, actually.
oh, okay.
Marisa uses broker metrics to develop her charts, but I just
Oh.
use trends. I've been using it for years, Trendgraphix.
Okay.
I like
Yeah.
to be, you can drill in time frame wise, you know, when I come across something, I've got the highest price that in the 15-month chart, then I can go back and say, okay, well, is that the highest price ever? You know,
Mhm.
and so I go back to 2005, 2006 and look at those prices and see if it's, you know, we might have a new record high price or something.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a nice way, you know, sometimes that graph, the visual graph helps people understand things well. So you can also, from there, you can just email it directly. So if you're talking to someone about something and you want to just email, you can email them that graph and then put in a little info, you know, explaining it or what have you. So
Yeah.
a good source.
Great. Yeah, a couple questions about where to find the YouTube recordings of these. Rebecca from our Sebastopol office sends these out, and she gives you a link to the YouTubes. So keep an eye out for email from Rebecca. But it is a Wine Country YouTube channel. I don't know exactly what it's called.
It's
Rachel,
Rachel.
not Rebecca.
Yeah, Rachel.
Rachel, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll actually start putting the link to the YouTube at the bottom of all of my emails. So if you see one from me about trainings, you know, it'll be in
great.
there as well.
Good. I have one other thing that some of you are aware of. Let me see. It's a chart I've used. No, that's not it. Here it is. Share screen. Okay, can you see that Wine Country market value
Yes.
shift? Okay.
Mhm.
So I use this sometimes. People ask me, okay, my client bought the house in 2008 and, you know, they haven't done much to it and they paid 600,000 for it. So under this sample column, I can put in, okay, they paid 600,000 in 2008. And this adjusts for the market conditions, you know, just the overall market conditions. And it would tell me that home might be worth as much as $1,073,000 in 2020. Now, sometimes, you know, they bought the house at the end of 2008, so they wouldn't get appreciation in 2008. So you'd plug it in as 2009. And I'll use this as a check sometimes against the normal CMA, and I can clear all these columns. And, you know, then it just shows that one particular transaction from 2009 to 2020. So if you ever wanted this to check, just call me and I'll email it to you and you can fiddle around with it. It's just an Excel worksheet that I've used over the years. And I have a version, actually, my current version includes half of 2021. So it's
Wow.
pretty up to date. And it goes back to 1998 when I started up here, working up here. So
Wow, that is super cool.
yeah,
That, I mean,
my own database.
yeah. Well, you know, so often there'll be a property that it's just so hard to find comps for because it's
Yeah.
so unique. So being able to have that extrapolation that's really valuable. Thanks,
Yeah.
Gary.
You're welcome. Kendra wants me to send her one. I'll send you one, Kendra. Okay. Well, that's all we have for this week. I think we're around. We'll see. I'm out next week, and I think Heather's going to do another in-depth training next week.
Yeah, I was thinking that I would cover Pinpoint next week. I know a lot of people voted for having the Better Homes and Gardens covering that program Pinpoint.
great.
So that's
That'd
my
be
plan.
terrific. Great. That'd be terrific.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Claudia, it was good to see you, and Alejandro, good to see you on board. And we'll catch up with you. Anything comes up between now and next week. Hey, Alejandro. Got your
All right.
mask on. Right?
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you both. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Heather.
Oop.
Oh, lost
She's
her.
gone. Give her a call, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty. Talk.